Do you hear me well? It's fine? Good. So, welcome to my talk about the platform. Please welcome on stage 3 people. Victoria is the VP product of a very successful SaaS company. Alice is the principal software engineer in this company. And John is the customer. John has his own company with 5 employees, and he serves customers from the United States. So in order to use our product, he has to sign up to the App1 region. John's company is very successful, and it is getting bigger and bigger, and he serves customers from all over the world. So in order to use our product in Europe, he has to sign up to the EMEA region in Europe. And in order to use our product in Australia, he has to sign up to the Australian region. Also, our imaginary SaaS company is very successful, and it acquires a new SaaS product, a security product. John wants to use this product. Isn't it amazing? No. This is exactly the challenge. John has to repeat on the sign-up process again and again to each and every one of the new regions. He has to add all the users, configure the account, and set the security settings. And later, when he wants to log in, he has to do it again for each and every one of the regions. And he doesn't have a comprehensive view of all the regions, all the products, and all the users. On top of this was only for one product. He has to repeat the same process for the new security product. What a mess, right? So nice to meet you. I'm Eliza Raleigh. I'm an engineering manager and a software engineer for more than 8 years. In the last 4 years, I worked at OnBackup in the platform group. OnBackup provides data services and specializes in data protection solutions. Our major product is backup and recovery. We back up very important and critical data from the user SaaS providers like Salesforce, ServiceNow, and Microsoft CRM Dynamics. And in the case of emergency, of data loss, we are able to recover his data with one click. So back to our problem, John's and the SaaS company problem. As you probably guessed, the solution is the platform. In this session, I will share with you my experience from building the platform. Best practices, challenges, solutions, and tips that can fit each and every one of you in your organization. If you also struggle with managing users in multiple geographical regions, this talk is for you. So, Victoria, the VP product, she is a very smart manager because she always asks the right questions. She asks why. Why does it happen? Why the user has to repeat on the sign-up process and the login process again and again, and he doesn't have a comprehensive view of all the users and all the regions. Alice, the developer, immediately knew the answer. She explained that due to regulations, we can't take the user's data outside of his geographical region. And we end with a very complex setup, multiple geographical region setup. In this setup, each region is a distinct VPC with all the layers of the product. Managed solution, storage, Kubernetes, EC2 machines, and different database. It's like islands. The user in one island knows anything about the user in the second island. So a user in one region, in that one database, knows anything about the user in the second region. By the way, if you will look really close, you can see me drinking margarita there. On top of that, the different products were written on different times, for different SaaS providers and with different technologies. So if a developer from one product wants to use another product ability or feature, it's most of the time very difficult to find himself writing the same code again and again. It's not a good practice, right? So what is the platform? We want to provide single login. So by one set of credentials, one username and password, the user will be able to log in to all the regions and all the products. We will provide to the user centralized account management and user management. So one configuration will be enforced for all the users in the account. It will also enable the user to have a comprehensive view of all the users in the account. Everything will be wrapped in a modern and unified user experience and UI for easy navigation and easy onboarding and familiar look and feel for all the products. Obviously, security is a superior value. We want our product to keep on the security levels that we have now and to extend the security for our clients. Alice, our developer, was really excited about a new project. So she went to the glass window and started to draw rectangles, arrow, cloud, like a normal developer, right? And she came with a plan. She understood that her main problem are the different databases, that one user might have different identities on each and every one of the different databases. And she has to merge all the identities into one single identity. In order to achieve this, she has to create one single and global service that will be deployed in a global region. And it will be the connecting link between all the different geographical regions. This service has to be responsible for authentication, authorization, managing the password, and force account configuration from one place to all the users in the account. And extend the security settings like multi-factor authentication, when you get a notification to your phone and you have to approve it, single sign-on to all the products, and more. Wow, sounds like a lot of work for Alice, right? Actually, this is exactly what an IDP is for. IDP stands for Identity Provider. It is a service that is responsible for identifying the user and provide them single sign-on to all the application depends on the identity and permissions. And now, welcome to the artistic part of the session, the technical part. In the technical part, I will explain how we use IDP in order to achieve all of those requirements. And in order to complete the user management solution, we also created one global service that is deployed in one global region and will be the connecting link between all the different geographical regions and the IDP. This is the user management service. So let's start from the sign-up flow, when the admin of the account wants to start a user with our system. So in order to register, he navigates to our website, enters his username, his email, the name of the company, and more details, and click on the Sign Up button. Then the request is being forwarded from the service in the GEO region to this user management service in the global region. The user management service sends a request to the IDP to create a group and a user. A group is the equivalent to an account in the IDPA language. Then the IDP sent a set password email to the user. The user sets his password and it's going back to the IDP. So to clarify, the password doesn't go through our systems and we don't save it in our databases. This is much more secure. Remember that I mentioned that we want to enforce one account configuration from one place to all the users? The IDP does it with policies. Policy in the IDP, it is an entity that is responsible to hold the security configuration of the account. There are sign-on policies that are responsible for multi-factor authentication and session timeout, and there are password policies that are responsible for password expiration, password history, and more. So when we create a group in the IDP, we also create a policy. The IDP is responsible to enforce this configuration on all the users in all the regions. We have thousands of clients, so means thousands of groups and thousands of policies. Sounds like a little bit of a latency issue, right? We have to look up for the right policy all the time, right? Yes, we created here a latency issue. In order to solve this, in our system, the policies are a final set of options. For example, the policy of password expiration can be 3 months, 6 months, or once a year. And the session timeout can be 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or 1 hour. So if we take all the possibilities, all the different combinations between the policies, we end up with a final set of options. Actually, less than 100. So instead of creating one policy for each and every one of the accounts, we just predefined those policies in the IDP and went between the account to the right policy. Later, of course, when the admin wants to change the policy, wants to change the security or the account configuration, he can do it with our systems and we just change the mapping to the new policy. Right? So next, of course, is the login, the user authentication, when the user wants to log in to all our products. Here we use OpenID Connect application. Application, it is another entity in the IDP language. The application represents the service, and the user is authenticated against the application. OpenID Connect is another security layer, another layer on top of OAuth2 to provide us user authentication. So the user navigates to our login page, which is hosted inside the IDP, enters his username and password, and click on the sign in. Then the credentials are forwarded to the OpenID Connect app. It's fine. The app redirects to the browser, and from there redirects with the authorization code to our service in the Go region. The Go region forwards this authorization code together with the client secret and client ID to the app. It is secure to store the client secret in the server because it is server flow, so we can store it securely in our systems. Next, the app sends the JWT to the service. JWT, JSON Web Token. It is a token that holds the information about the user. The service can validate those credentials, this information about the user, and when it is validated, we can start the session and the user is able to log into the system. Great! So now we have all our different geographical regions that are communicating with the user management service and from there to the IDP. Exactly what we wanted, right? One service to manage all the identities and all the servers. But this communication between the regions wasn't exist before, right? Because we didn't have different regions. So this communication has to be encrypted and secure. We did this with MTLS. MTLS stands for Mutual TLS, Transport Layer Security. In TLS, the client wants to validate the identity of the server. For example, if the client do a request to the server, he wants to make sure that he knows who he is. The server can claim, hey, nice to meet you, I'm Google, but how can the client be sure that it is indeed Google? With the CA, the Certificate Authority. The Certificate Authority is a public and trusted entity. It's like a judge. When the CA claims the service is Google, the client can be sure this is indeed Google. So what is the flow? The client do a request to the server, and the server responds with the certificate. The certificate is signed by the Certificate Authority private key, asymmetric encryption, and holds a few fields. The important ones are the issuer, which is the name of the Certificate Authority, and the common name, which is the name of the server. The client validates this certificate with the public key of the Certificate Authority. The client has this public key because the Certificate Authority is a public entity. When it is validated, the client can be sure, great, the server is indeed Google, in our example. MTLS, we said mutual TLS, so both the client and the server validating each other, and the client also sends a certificate to the server. This verification we do in each and every one of the requests between our services. It's very important. Let's have a brief with our tech stack. As IDP, we used Okta. And the platform services are the entry point to the system. They are responsible for the login, for the logout, for the sign up. And we also mentioned that we want the platform services to store shared functionality and services for all the products in all the R&D teams, like email service, audit service, token service to generate tokens, and more. So we want the platform services to be highly available, scalable, resilient, easy to communicate with, easy to develop and deploy, and more. We did it with, you're probably familiar with, the managed solution Kubernetes with microservices architecture. So let's have a look. The first layer is, of course, the Kubernetes. Next, we have the Docker containers. We build base image once in a week, with all the layers that are not changed very often. From it, we build the service image and the test image when we need them. In this way, the building of the service and the test images are easier and faster. We store them, of course, in the ECR. Each Docker container runs a process of JUnit together with Fast API and the service code. Fast API, Python web framework, I'm sure you're familiar with. It has many advantages, and we'll leverage a few. Fast API has massive support of plugins like Pydantic for data validation and serialization, SQL Alchemy for database integration, the use of middlewares. We validate the JWT in the middleware without a connection to the IDP at all. And in order to have a convenient integration between the different R&D teams and the different services, Fast API has the ability to generate automatically open API documentation. It's a JSON that you can share in order the other teams to see all our APIs, parameters, Swagger, debug. I really recommend it. So, do you remember John? The one with the glasses? Yeah, the customer. So for the customer, we now provide single login. So by one set of credentials, username and password, the user is able to log into the systems, to all the products and all the regions. We now provide the user centralized account management and user management. For one place, the configuration will be applied to all the users in the account. And we provide a wide and comprehensive view of all the users and all the regions. We now provide enhanced and consistent security settings. Like the account configurations, the security settings is in one place to all the regions, and we also enhance it because we don't save the password in the database, and we provide multi-factor authentication and more. Everything will be is wrapped in one unified and modern user experience and UI for easy navigation, easy onboarding, and familiar look and feel between all the products. And now, because the client or the user has one identity between all the products, we are able to provide him cross-product abilities. For example, John has both the backup and recovery solution and the security solution. So we are now able to provide him a feature that scans his data from the backup and alert for potential security risks in the security product. And now, let me tell you a secret. A successful product is a product that generates new revenue streams. Makes sense, right? So the platform improved the business. We are now making more money. Because the user is able to log into the system once, and he can see now all the variety of products that we provide. He can click on them, see the information, and even start a free trial without a salesperson. He is more likely to buy more of our products. Moreover, the onboarding to new region is easier now. He doesn't have to configure everything from scratch, and he can do it much more easily. So he is more likely to expand to new regions. On top of that, for the R&D, the release and develop of new products is easier now, and the time to market is getting better. Because the R&D team can be focused on the business logic of the service, while all the infrastructure is handled by the platform, like the login, the sign-up, email service, audit service, and more. John, our customer, is really happy now. The developers are more productive, and we make more money. And this is exactly the right time for you to go and implement your next generation platform. Good luck. Thank you. I'm here for questions.
Any questions? We have a few, 5 minutes for several.
Maybe I should bring the mic.
Thanks for the presentation. Was Python used somewhere in the development process of this platform or something?
Yeah, sure. So,
Great.
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned, all our tech stack was in Python, fast API, the middlewares. We validate the APIs and the parameters with Pydantic. All the middleware we verify the JWT with Python libraries, JWK, and it was very helpful because we didn't try to everything from scratch. And also OAuth 2, I didn't mention it, but OpenAPI is, also has Python libraries.
Any more questions? We have time for one or two more. No?
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.